Everybody, welcome to this live interview. Selena Starlight is here with you guys, who is trying on the fourth attempt to invite my friend Cortney McDermott today. And while we're dealing with some technical issues, which are completely understandable, knowing that we are all the way deep in Mercury retrograde right now, I'm not surprised that gadgets are not working properly. Cortney joined. You waved at Cortney. Okay. I think finally we are having some connection going, but I can't hear you. Please let me know if you can hear me. Cortney, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Cortney, you waved at Cortney. I'm accepting you. Second time. I can hear you. I can't neither hear you nor see you, my dear. Cortney is unable to join, it says. Let's see if it accepts. I'm accepting you third time in a row. Always with you some type of anomaly we create in the space.
Hello.
Did you notice? Ever since we had our first interview years ago, there was always gadgets blowing up, like going crazy. Let's see if it accepts. I can't
think it's working.
Hear you. I can't see you, Cortney. Where is our Maria? Maria is our eyes and ears
but
today.
I can't see you or
Lena,
hear you anymore.
Леночка, привет. Hello, Lena.
Hello.
Please type in the comments if you can hear us or see us. Леночка, мы тут не можем чуть разобраться с технологической части. Если ты нас слышишь, видишь обеих или только меня, пожалуйста, напиши.
I can't see you. I can't hear you.
Sorry, guys. That was my Russian friend, my friend from Moldova. I asked her to give us feedback as far as the visibility and hearability, because we're trying to go live.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey. Yay. We did it.
We did it. Finally. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. It's been a minute. Привет. Hi, everybody who's joining. Mercury retrograde. That's not just, I don't want to sound cliche, but it's actually factual that gadgets are misbehaving so much during certain retrograde movement of a certain planet. And Mercury is responsible for the communication, for the logic, for the trade, for all types of connection between people. And the gadgets that provide communication, such as cell phones, computers, tend to work improperly.
Yeah. Well, despite the fact that Mercury is in retrograde, I am glad that we are here. We made it. You and I wanted to talk today about so many things, so we'll try to kind of keep it in a format or a space and time that people can digest. But there's so much to cover, and I also really wanted to share a little bit about my recent experience with you, because we did, oh my God, it was incredible. So last week I met with Selena and we were kind of deep diving into some questions that I had. And it's just remarkable to see what you're able to do with your understanding of astrology and just where we went in terms of like questions that I didn't even know I had, but also intuitive hits that I had before and that were then like confirmed from you through real kind of also a very scientific approach to this work. So I love for you to share some of that. I know we're going to do some card pulling too today, so I'm just super excited. And I think even if Mercury is in retrograde, we're going to rock this. So yeah,
we're going to turn it back around. If there's going to be anybody who can do it, it's definitely me and you. The practice shown. You've been interviewing me years ago. Same thing. It's an energetic anomaly when two very remarkable people, I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound so not modest, but it is true. When remarkable people meet, the energy is just beyond crazy. It's like when 1 + 1, it's not 2, it's
11.
many thousands, 11s, yeah. And it actually happens sometimes when I help my friends or clients with a certain astrological configuration. My gadgets literally start breaking. My gadgets are like going crazy. I have to go and take a computer to repair. Our friend Isabella, one day, Isabella is really powerful, and we were together doing some session, a while ago. And I wanted to do a session with her, as she wanted to do a session with me as well. We scheduled everything, and on the day it was scheduled, my laptop just stopped working completely. I had to reschedule it for a few days after, and I had to literally take it to to a computer guy and fix it.
Yeah. I think, there's a lot. And also just timing. I think this is an important piece that came up when I was working with you, is the timing of things is so critical. And we don't think about that as much as we probably should. And when you look at a lot of ancient or more ancient societies, they based everything on timing. Of course, like there's so much that we know this is right, because if we think about harvesting, if we think about planting, we know there's a time, we know there's a season. But in our own lives, I think the tendency to just kind of push ahead and not really listen to either the signals we're getting or the planetary signals that are being sent. So that's a really profound aspect of your work. And hey, Maria, so glad to see you again. She can hear us and see us. Woo! Okay. Wait, we can't hear you. You're muted.
Maria is our eyes and ears today. She's going to be on the lookout for the sound.
Yeah.
And it's really good to have you here in our field. Almost like we're having a nice girls get together.
Yeah.
Two of my friends, and both are book authors, and it's an honor to be in your beautiful company tonight. But let's dive to the business. What Cortney meant with the right timing has a direct connection to what I do as a specialist, because right timing to act is nearly a 50% of success, if not more. People oftentimes come to me with all types of questions, and a very popular question of them would be when to, exactly, yeah, whatever it is. There can be a multitude of situations that are inquired about, such as, for example, wedding. A lot of my girlfriends ask me, what would be the good date for wedding? Because those people who know a little bit about astrology, psychology, or Vedic astrology, which is not my area of expertise, but I am aware of the Vedic traditions in India, and not only India. People, before getting married, people always go to astrologists to get advice on compatibility, just to know if there's going to be any important points to be known about each of the couple, right? Just to make their life more, I want to say, harmonious. And also, the timing is crucial. When you have a serious event such as wedding on a wrong day, it can reflect on the course of entire relationship. I've been consulting few people, and the practice shown, those who pick the wrong date, their marriage didn't last, and their marriage was not happy. And a lot of people understood why when I explained them in detail. I'm not saying it only depends on one date, or you gotta do it on the right day. No, there is a multitude of factors that have to be taken in consideration. But when it comes to weddings, you want to pay attention on the planets that are responsible for emotional and family well-being. Such planets are Moon and Venus. Moon is very deeply ingrained in all of us. It's very close to Earth. It affects our emotional body. It shows how we treat our family, how are we with our family members, what do we like to eat, and how do we like to feed everybody around us, and how do we like to nurture everybody. It's a motherly principle. It's a yin principle. And ideally, if the moon has a favorable position on the day of your choosing, and it's easier with moon because it travels every 2.5 days, it's already changing the house. So it's easy to catch the moon. But when it comes to planets like Venus, Venus doesn't travel as fast because Moon represents emotions, and emotions are changing. Some people feel very positive when they wake up, and then after a few phone calls to the bank, they feel very negative. Emotions come and go. And like, it's just an example, but Venus is responsible for feelings, and feelings have a more constant nature. Usually people know how they feel about something or somebody. Feelings don't change so quickly like emotions, unless your Venus is in Gemini, and that's a one of a kind. People with Venus in Gemini are very, very changey, and they really, like, people like that. They always have a hard time in relationships because they literally find that their attraction falls onto the principle of diversity, because Geminis, they're never the same. Their favorite phrase is change of plans. So if you're dating somebody with Venus and Gemini, change your plans as often as possible, just to keep that drive. It's like a joke, but it's also, there's a piece of truth in it. So back to Venus. Venus is the most important planet when it comes to wedding planning and the relationship as well, because it's responsible for two areas of life: love and finance. Venus, as a greedy woman, she wanted to take up two houses when the gods of astrology were replacing everybody to be in charge. It's a legend, but every legend has a piece of truth in it, right? So we have two planets that take up, instead of one house or one zodiac sign, they take two. One of them is Venus. She is responsible for the sign of Taurus and Libra. Taurus is a money manifestation, material. Libra is a partnership manifestation, a loving relationshipal principle. So when you pick the date for such a serious event as wedding, you want to look at the Venus. You don't want Venus to be in a hostile house. When it's in a hostile house, it's gonna take out collectively peace of mind and harmony. To be a more specific example, planets have relationship between them as well. Some of them are very close because they're close by nature, by the elements, and some of them are really further away from each other when it comes to the principle they represent. If Venus is in Scorpio, for example, Venus doesn't like to be in Scorpio. Scorpio is very masculine, very very intense energies. Venus in Scorpio has 0 points out of 6. If we look at the scale from soul formula perspective, the one that I do, so soul formula decoding, Venus in Scorpio collectively brings a lot of jealousy, a lot of suffering, a lot of suspicion, love on edge, love where there's always a fight, there's always, like, stuff like this. So and also there is one very important criteria when you pick a date for wedding: you do not want to get married on the day when Venus goes retrograde. Retrograde is a backwards movement. This is very, very important. You want it to be clear. You don't want to look at your partner through rose-colored glasses, and then when it's too late, you're already like, what? Who did I marry? That's crazy. Like, what was my brain? You know what I mean? That's why it's so crucial that you pick the right date. For the business, you want to pick the date with a good Mercury position. Mercury, it is a planet responsible for business. Mars as well. Mars, as the masculine principle, it gives a lot of push. It gives like that jump start, like a jump start to the car where the battery died. Mars allows people to have that impulse, have that piece of energy to get stuff moving. Mercury is the god of trade. Trade, any business, whatever it is, cannot exist and cannot be successful if it doesn't involve communication with different people, right? Yeah. And there's a lot more other examples. Just to wrap that up, I hope that principle was comprehensive. Let me know if you have any questions, my dear.
Yeah, well, I want to share a little bit of my own experience working with you this past week. I mean, I've worked with you before, but wow. Okay, so just for everyone listening, I get lost in this stuff. It's definitely not my field of expertise. So when I hear Selena, I'm just like bowing to the level of preparedness that you have in your field, because I think that's always super important, at least for me. Like, I want to be working with people who have that depth and that passion for what they do. But what really astounded me when we spoke this past week, and it was also the first time I worked with you, it was the same thing where I had these intuitive hits right before we spoke. And I was talking to Selena about, because I'm potentially getting ready for a big move. And right before we spoke, I wrote down a place that I thought was the place, and then right under it, I wrote another place that I thought wasn't the place. And right when I wrote it, I was like, oh my God, that's the place. And then you and I get on to talk. And it wasn't the only thing of the things that I had sort of written down from a meditation that I had before we spoke. But when we got on, what you shared with me was so astounding, because you actually had this map, this whole world map that explained so much and was so on point with my own intuition, and also so on point with my own experience, because we were looking at different places that I've ended up. I mean, why did I end up in Italy, right? And to me, I've always had a kind of an idea of why I came, why my being, or my, however we want to call it, soul intelligence brought me here. And when I mean intelligence, I mean like that soul intelligence that's beating our hearts, et cetera. But it's like I always had an idea. And when you showed me on this map, and also these clear meridian lines basically passing through and what they meant based on the different signs, I was really, really blown away, because I was like, no way, this is exact. And it was the same experience I had the first time I worked with you, because I remember I came with my vision. I didn't know how much I was going to share of my vision, but you basically told me my whole vision while we were talking. So like, okay, this is real deal. It's kind of like what you said last week, and what we were talking about when you were mentioning the book, when you read something, my latest book, when you read something and you recognize it as truth, right? And so it was the same, like having this experience with you was just, okay, because I had always been skeptical in the past. So I wanted to share that, because I think it's a good segue for people who are thinking about doing this kind of soul mapping or soul formula work with you. And I know you've got an upcoming course too. So it's like that piece I think is so critical. So people aren't just saying, oh, I'm sitting here with my crystal ball, which anyway we all have, like that's your intuition, right? But then having someone on the other side that sort of verifies and validates what it is that your intuition is telling you is a very profound experience.
Thank you, dear Courtney. I appreciate such kind and such powerful feedback. I'm very happy that we were able to sort out the question you came to me with. When it comes to moving or relocation or traveling in general, we're not going to take only one instrument such as astrogeography. There is a part of, branch in astrology that's responsible for helping people find more suitable place for them depending on their purpose. Somebody seeks for advice when they want to immigrate and they don't have that intuition yet to feel themselves, because every piece of earth consists of elements, and elements in us naturally they strive for the elements that we don't have enough, because we want to balance it out, right? Or maybe some people just prefer to be and stay in the same spot where they've been born. Let's say people with a lot of earth element in them, they're more grounded, they're more comfortable in stability. They don't like change. Yeah, let's say we take just an example. We take a Taurus and a Gemini. Yeah, or all earth signs, Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus. They would rather stay consistently somewhere where they place their roots, right? And they feel more grounded there. They feel more at peace. Versus if we take a Gemini, oh my God, for them stagnation is the worst fears of all. They would rather travel and change places. Or Aquarius, or like people who are free birds like that, Libras as well. All of their element is air. So anyways, when we relocate, when we travel, we move. We take this piece of information just to consideration. We do not base our whole movement on it, but it's worth to know. Those who are seeking this type of astrological advice, you guys want to live somewhere where the meridian of Jupiter. Jupiter is very, very big positive force. It's luck. It's positivity in all aspects. It's status. It's success. Jupiter is an expansion of your potential. Versus Saturn, it would be a contraction. Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and Sagittarius are well-known travelers. They like to, their symbol is the archer, the centaurus with a arch with a bow and arrow, and he likes to strive that arrow as far as possible. Principle of expansion, and that's why we take Jupiter as one of the most important indications, where the meridian of Jupiter goes on Earth, and they can be very unexpected places, somewhere where you never even thought about going. So you take into consideration every principle each planet represents, and actually a lot of people feel a very strong pull to certain country in the world, and they have no idea why, but they just feel like they need to be there, at least to visit. And usually when you actually start checking up online, they have a very favorable position of Jupiter in there, and not only Jupiter, some other planets as well, which draws them automatically. But when it comes to such serious questions, such as moving or immigrating, you don't want to only rely on this type of information. You also want to have another perspective. And that's where tarot cards come in handy. Tarot cards, a lot of people are fearing it, and I understand why. It's got quite a reputation, but fears of tarot we're going to discuss in another video. For those people who are not afraid of it, who don't have any prejudice, I'll tell that this instrument allows to have a particular answer to particular question. Like tarot has the same root with the Torah, and Torah is the everybody knows that it's a holy scripture in Judaism, and that's where people extract a lot of information. There is no coincidence that Hebrew alphabet has 22 letters, and tarot cards have 22 major arcanas, which is a coded information about the energies that are at large here on the earth plane. So it's not a divination, it's not like a thing that to fear or something, it's actual instrument. It's like you don't need to be a mechanic to drive a car, right? You can still drive a car without knowing the principal work of the engine. Same with here, same with these instruments. You don't have to be believing or not believing. You just have to understand the facts. In the hands of a really good professional, this instrument turns into help. It's like with lawyers. You can have a really good lawyer who is going to win your case, but you can also stumble on the lawyer who will take all your money and you'll never see him again, right? Same here. It's all about the professional in whose hands the instrument is landing. So that's one of the other spectrum and line of work that I do.
Yeah, I would again like to share some of my experience with this, because as I was saying earlier, it's kind of just this really profound reinforcement of maybe what you already know. So when you were talking also about like the scorpion lines and where they pass through and how that's not maybe conducive to your highest good or whatever, I'm putting it in my own words, but I love that because again, before we were speaking, I think it was probably a few weeks or even a couple months before we talked, that there was this place where my daughter wanted to move. And when I was thinking about it, it just felt so uncomfortable in my nervous system. And I said, I was like, we can't move there, even though it would have been easy in a lot of ways to move there. It was, my nervous system was just screaming no. And you showed me on the map, you're like, this is exactly where the scorpion line falls, so for me, again, that confirmation that we got with the map, but especially to your point about this other tool and instrument that you use with the cards. And I know you don't just use tarot, but all the cards that you used in our session. I love that you also intuitively decided which, or intuitively knew, I should say, which deck to choose from. And for me, the tarot is so fascinating, and yet it is, I feel like it's worlds of study in tarot. And I think that's what the profundity of it in the, if it's in the wrong hands, I think the profundity of it cannot be captured. I think it has to really be with someone who has the level of respect and knowledge and intuition that you have and that you hold. It's kind of like I would liken it almost to surfing, like the danger of the waters if you don't know what you're doing. It's this element that can be so either so dangerous or so magnificent, and you kind of like really need to know what you're doing. So for me, in my experience working with you and with the cards too, again, it was like reinforcement, reinforcement, reinforcement on everything with all of the different modalities you use. And I know it doesn't just limit itself to the soul formula and the mapping and the cards. It's so much more. And I feel like, again, that's the real power, is the intuition and the level of respect and passion that you hold for this. So wanted to share that from my experience.
Thanks for sharing, Courtney. I prepared a little surprise for you guys who are watching us online, who will be watching later in the recording. Right now, I'm gonna give you an example why intuition is beneficial to develop. Nowadays, we want to have all the tools. The time we live in is very fast-paced, fast technologies, everything develops so fast. Those people who are highly logical, it's really great. It's really awesome to work on that left hemisphere of the brain responsible for logic. But intuition is a new logic. It happens in your heart. It happens in a matter of seconds. This is what happens when you have an important decision to make. First, there is intuition. After intuition, you second guess yourself, you doubt yourself. There is a logical mind starting to act up. As an example, I was having a real estate license course. Again, profession that I picked not by heart. It was just imposed on me, literally, because there is money in real estate. Actually, that's a myth. Money, yeah, there are money, but there are money if you are really having your heart in it. But anyways, I studied real estate. I went for this exam and stuff like this, and I tested myself so many times. I was so nervous before the exam, and each time I I didn't know exactly the answer because the school wasn't easy, I'm not gonna lie, but my intuitive answers were almost always on point. Whether when I let my logic think, I started second guessing myself, I started doubting myself, those answers were false, at least for me. I'm not implying that we're all gonna become old voodoo right now. No, not at all. Just use the tools wisely. Use both hemispheres of the brain, and you're gonna be caught by surprise how effective it is. So the benefit of intuition is your success in all your endeavors. Right now, I want to make a live intuition development test. Everybody who's watching, think about a question, any question that you have at this moment of time, something that's been bothering you, something that you want to know. It can be any area of life, absolutely any. Maybe you have an important decision to make, maybe it's financial issues you're facing, you want to start making more money, you want to be more independent, maybe change a job location, maybe you have a relationship drama, trauma, baby mama drama, anything, or maybe you want to move somewhere, whatever it is. Think for a second of a question you have in mind right now. And I want you to intuitively pick number from 1 to 3. Intuition happens within the first 3 seconds. The very first number that popped in your head, that's the number you need right now at this moment of time. Again, tarot, it's not, or cards or any oracle instruments, it's not thing that predicts your future, because as those who watch me and Cortney know that my opinion about it is very particular. There is no future. It did not happen yet. Professionals like me, I prefer to refer to freedom of choice. I'll give you all the tools I have so you can create your own future, right? There's nothing to fear. It all depends on your decisions. Your decision today will affect your outcome tomorrow. But there is a probability, there's so many options. Sometimes businessmen, they like to ask me about, like when is the better time to act, or what's the better strategy for this and that, ABC. This is a great instrument that helps. So right now, think about your number. And for those who chose number 1, the answer to your question will be this. Five of Pentacles. Highly financial card. In traditional tarot deck, Five of Pentacles represents poverty, both material and spiritual. Pentacles is that suit that's responsible for finance, because the discs, money, pentacles, it's all, it's all the same essential thing. Question that you are asking yourself refers to a probability that whatever option or variation you think about as far as implementing in your work, for example, likely will require from you more strategy, and it's not the most favorable venture for you to take on, because Five of Pentacles, it's one of those cards that does represent lack. In a traditional Rider-Waite tarot, there are 2 people walking in the snow, and one of them is handicapped and stuff. Here, although it's an Egyptian tarot, it's a different kind. Here we see the eye. The great eye is always watching, and the 2 snakes, they're moving to the opposite direction. This Five of Pentacles ask you to pay more attention to your intuition and look around. Don't only think about this one thing that's normal-minded, like a horse, with a vision. Only this job. Like maybe you're doing this job for too long. Maybe it's time to look around. Expand your, expand your options. There's so many more options for you. Something to think about. For people who chose number 2, Major Arcana, Moon. Major Arcana are far more serious than minor arcana. There are 22, there are 78 cards. 22 of them are major. Moon is one of the most emotionally charged principles out there in the whole deck. Moon, it's all about the intuition, going within. But on the downside, it can represent that question that you're inquiring about has a lot to do with obsession, with disclarity, like you're not capable to see things clearly. Moon is a night body, right? Celestial body. It comes out at night. It hides a lot. It changes shape. It's very cyclical by nature. Whatever you were inquiring about has a lot to do with changes, and has a lot to do with the feeling of a deep, profound, emotional nature towards something or somebody. Moon requires you to reflect, to take your time, to listen to the silence. In the silence, that's when a lot of greatest ideas are born. You see the hieroglyphs right there. Hieroglyphs represent some kind of writings and hidden knowledge, and there are pyramids, and there are two dogs. One of them is white, one of them is black, and it represents the yin and yang, the principle of day and night, the masculine, the feminine within you. Moon is more of a feminine card than a masculine, but it's one of those intuitive tools that ask you to look within and reflect. Just pause for a second. Pause all the vanity of a daily life. Like it has a lot of profundity in it. This card is a card of loneliness. A lot of people are very lonely. A lot of people are understanding that the world is not what it seemed to be, and they can't communicate with the old friends anymore. Their paths are just so different. So they face this loneliness, the huge void, the darkness, the dark night of the soul. They don't want to stay in the swamp anymore. They don't want to be drinking with I don't know, whatever, with some friends, do any kind of, have any addictions. Why I mentioned drinking? Because moon is connected with the waters of the ocean. When this card represents any addictions, it has a lot to do with consumption of the toxic substances where you no longer can tolerate, your body doesn't want it anymore. So moon highly suggests to be okay with that big grand loneliness there you're stepping onto. And that period of loneliness is crucial and inevitable for anybody who is spiritually advancing, right? Because before you gain new friends, before you meet new soulmates that are like stars in the sky spread out through our entire universe, before you get the gift as meeting like-minded, you gotta have to face the loneliness for some time. It's the period of transition when the old ways are no longer doable, but you haven't gathered new ways yet. You haven't figured it out yet. So that would be the answer for people who chose option number 2. And let's do last one, last but not least. How much time we got? Let's do number 3. Those who chose number 3. We got King of Swords. Okay, so people represented in system of tarot, such as there is there are knaves, there are pages. Pages are like servants, right? There are knights, and there are kings and queens. Those are representing human people around you. When such cards come up in the spread, it always represents some people around you. Sword is a suit that represents mental body, thinking process. Swords is all about the thinking process. Number 3, people who requested any inquiry at this moment. There is a person in your surroundings, or maybe a person you think about, or maybe that person thinks about you at this moment. It can be anybody. It can be somebody from your work. It can be somebody from your close circle. It can be your significant other, if you will. But whoever that person is, the person is very cold. The person doesn't have any emotion in this particular situation. The person may be angry because swords are representing the instrument of fight, right? The person can be angry with you, or you can be angry with that person, or you guys can be brainstorming some ideas of a purely mental nature. You want to get somewhere you want to read between the lines and get your point across. And the King of Swords is one of those kings that it can cut you off. Like really, it can. These people are highly logical, and if they don't like something, they tolerate no bullshit. They just cut off everything right there on the spot. King of Swords are the most vicious of all kings. King of Cups would be somebody, more of an emotional, love-related. King of Wands would be somebody of a more of a passionate, energetic kind of appeal, passion, work. A lot of work environment has to do a lot with the Wands And Pentacles, King of Pentacles, will likely represent a person who has a big amount of money, or somebody from, maybe a boss, if you have a boss. But King of Swords, it's either somebody hostile to you, or you can be hostile to that person, or somebody of a purely mental nature that thinks cold-heartedly, pursues its goals, and will cut you off if something doesn't go his or her way. It can be a woman as well, of a masculine nature, for example. But there are so many variations that can be put together. I cannot guarantee that any of this that was mentioned will necessarily be applicable to you, because it's a public reading. It's not like I'm in your field to feel you more and to help you more precisely. It's not like I got a particular question. This instrument likes to answer to those who have the particular questions. The more particular is the question, the more particular will be the answer.
Yeah.
Cortney?
So basically, right, you're meaning the more kind of specific, right? So the more specific the question. I think this point is really important because when I came to you last week, there were very specific questions. And it's funny because today when you asked to think of something, no specific question actually surfaced. It was kind of just a general, not even question, it was like a point, you know? And it was funny because as I was listening to the reading, like I felt there were pieces that were applicable, but then I was like, but my question wasn't clear. So I think that piece is really important for anyone coming to do work with you, is first really getting clear on what is it that you want to address, because I think that's also, that provides the clarity for your own intuition to step in as well. If I'm correct in how you work, at least in how I experienced your work.
Thank you, dear. I want to remind our audience that Cortney is having 2 amazing workshops. One of them is going to be a money workshop. Another of them is going to be a workshop for writers, for those who are pursuing writing career. And it's going to take place here in LA. And it's going to happen on May 11 and 12.
Yeah.
And those people who will be able to join are definitely going to have a lot to gain from this amazing workshops. It's such a popular and demanded areas of life right now. The money and the writing. A lot of writers all over the world, they want to leave legacy. Everybody's tired of watching the repetitive replica of one another on Netflix or whatever else, There is a real art that wants to wake up and wants to be born. And that real inspiration is generated only by those people who are highly connected with the spirit, like you are, Cortney. And it would be a very, very big honor to learn from you. And money, no doubt, this is an everlasting area of life which everybody strives to improve. And there's no such thing as too much, right? There's always more. No matter how much you've conquered, there's always more. And I'm very excited to. Hopefully I'll be able to join and attend those, at least one of those workshops. And depending on the schedule, but I really want to. And I want to invite everybody who is into these topics that mentioned above. Please DM Cortney for more information if you have any. And I hope to reconnect with like-minded individuals here in Hollywood.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. So, yeah, I'm super excited. We just rented out a gorgeous space near West Hollywood. It was actually a 1920s. It was a church in the 1920s, and it's industrial and it's super, super cool. So, I'm super, super jazzed about those workshops on the 11th and 12th of May. And I'm also really excited about what you're doing and what you're offering. I know for me personally, this is the first time I've been able to do public trainings in forever, because everything's private and it's very niche. And I have, like I was mentioning also, there's like a 3-year waiting list for the one-on-one. So it's so exciting to be able to actually give this training. And I've already started having a lot of downloads. about it. So I'm bubbling over with excitement, and also with what you're doing and the chance that we're going to be in person together. And I think this event is going to attract a lot of people with this kind of energy that we're all seeking more of. And to your point, like, yes, there's so much more. And so as I'm finding that, discovering that every single day and year, it's just accelerated so much in terms of what's available to us. And that's really what I think you share in your work, what I endeavor to share in mine. So I would love to hear a little bit more before we close out, because I know we have to wrap now, but about your course and how people can connect with that. Because if anyone listening, part of my community, definitely follow Selena, get involved with her, do a session with her. It is so priceless. So yeah, tell us more about your course, please.
Thank you, love. I appreciate you asking. To keep it short, students who got enrolled in my archetypal psychology and tarot course are not only walking out with a knowledge that helps them have a new source of income, they're not only walking out with a knowledge of the semantic system of tarot, Lenormand, and oracle cards. These people are very, very advanced trainees in all the arts of esoteric field, which is as deep as ocean, which is as vast as cosmos. I give abundantly all the secrets I've gathered over many, many years in consulting. Every self-respected coach, esoteric, doesn't have to be esoteric at all. It can be a scientist. It can be a massage therapist, or you can be anybody. It doesn't really matter what your work niche is. But once you develop your intuition, and that's my biggest goal, to help you open the pineal gland, to help you open your so-called third eye, from which nothing is hidden. My goal is to bring the awareness of humanity and pass my knowledge to my dear beloved students who are going to be able to look at this world from a new perspective. I not only teach you how to read the cards, how to make different spreads, how to answer any question. I give you the basics of the astrology, the fundamentals that everybody needs to know, the system of the houses, this strangely looking language. It's like some people say, I don't believe in astrology. Okay, but how can you believe or not believe in something that you simply don't understand? It's like Spanish. If you don't speak or understand Spanish, you can't say, oh, I don't believe in Spanish, right? Spanish exists regardless of whether you believe in it or not, and actually one of the most spoken language in the world. The whole Latin America, the whole continent, Mexico, Spain, and not only. And same goes to any language. Astrology is merely a language. It's a very exact science. It's based on numbers. It's been discovered by Arabs who also are ancestors that started out the calculus, the mathematics and stuff. So it's not like there is a lot of water and all this weird, strange, mysterious things. No, there is actually exact numeric data that has to be involved. It's like no matter how much you multiply by 0, it's always going to be 0. 2 times 2 is always 4. You know what I mean? Like, there is certain things that are constant, and certain things are changeable, such as psychology. And when we mix those two together, wow, it's like an explosion. Both hemispheres of your brain are working like a machine. I teach the basics of numerology. Numerology is also all the numbers. It has a lot to do with knowing the sequence of every number and knowing how to calculate your own archetype. Which archetype? I derive it from the major arcanas, from 22, just like the Hebrew alphabet that I mentioned earlier. Once you know your own archetype, it's going to be easier for you to pick a career and pick a strategy how to develop your skills that are given you by birth. I give a lot of information about caste system. about the levels of consciousness of people, and there are 4 types of them. And once you're a businessman or you're an entrepreneur, you need to understand what kind of people you're dealing with, because very knowledgeable businessmen admit that half of the percent of their success is the people that they hire. Knowing who to hire, which position to give them. Somebody will be a great art director. Somebody is going to be a great marketing department. Somebody is going to be the most skillful handyman. Everybody is important. It's not like somebody is better or higher than the other. It's just everybody has their pace and evolution. And a lot of people, they have no idea how big of a treasure chest full of riches they got under their feet right there. All you got to do is grasp it. That's why the Astro-psychology Tarot course is here for you to discover, and so much more. But my prime goal is to not only teach you how to read the cards. It's really boring for a lot of people. There can be like 1,000 variations of what one card alone means. One card is like a big world, especially the major arcana. My goal is to open your pineal gland, your third eye, so you can decide for yourself, and you can be in a so-called harmony and the stream that comes from very, very high planes. We're channeling those high planes here on Earth, just like the second arcana, High Priestess, who is connected deeply to Akashic Records, the world library, where everything is stored about what has been, what is, and what will be.
Amen. Amen. I am so excited for this course. I'm so excited for the people listening to be able to participate in it, because what you're saying, and maybe we just wrap with this, but what you're saying of, you know, I'm always reminding people of this, because when people come to me kind of for their answers, or maybe come to you for their answers, it's like, I don't have your answers, but you do. And so let's see how to source them. And that's what you're talking about. And that's the profound teaching. That's really the only teaching, actually, if we're serious with ourselves. I can't give you the 5 steps to anything, but I can stand in front of you and remind you of who and what you are. And that is also just the embodiment of it. So I just want to say thank you so much. You are definitely the embodiment of this. And thank you to everyone who listened today and who are joining us after, before, during, coming to our events, coming to your trainings online, because the more of us that are awakening to this truth that we do know, and that we do hold this intelligence within us, the more our world is going to shine as a consequence. So I am excited for that. And that's one of the main reasons I'm here, maybe the main reason. And so, yeah, thanks again. Thank you so much for today.
Likewise, Courtney, thank you so much. Thank you for being here, for finding time in your busy schedule. I know you've been traveling, and I wish to get you some rest and get back to your normal routine. I hope you enjoyed your trip to Spain. And also, I want to say thank you for all the people who were joining us during live. It was not too many because the hours are odd. We're in the middle of the night here in LA right now. But Maria, Nova, thank you so much for being with us. We love you. We are excited to get in touch with you. And I see the comment from Mari. Mari Bell is a very amazing person who is traveling to Egypt currently. I hope you enjoy yourselves, you and your company, whoever you travel with. And Mari says hello. Very pleasant to hear you both. Look so amazing. Thank you so much, Mari. Likewise to you.
Yeah, thank you to everyone.
Everybody else.
Yeah.
I can't read all the comments right now, but everybody else who's been with us tonight, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you on the next live very shortly. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Ciao.
Ciao, Bella.
Ciao.